Frankford Avenue Bridge is the oldest stone bridge in the United States. The construction came to an end in 1697. It belongs to the Holmesburg section of Northeast Philadelphia. Frankford Avenue Bridge has four other different names such as Pennypack Creek Bridge, the Pennypack Bridge, the Holmesburg Bridge, and the Kings Highway Bridge. In the 1920s, the road was the main route from Philadelphia to Trenton and New York. The three-span bridge was built just wide enough, about 37 feet, to accommodate horse carriages and is 73 feet long. William Penn had granted land to build the bridge to connect his mansion with the new city of Philadelphia. The bridge is named in honor of monarch, which became Frankford Avenue. During the time of the bridge was built, all the men near the region must participate in the construction or else they have to pay taxes. Modern engineers estimate it would have taken 2 to 5 years to complete the construction. The bridge has undergone several repairs. One of the major reconstruction took place in 1893 and 2018. The Smithfield Street Bridge is one of the principal connects in the United States to utilize steel in its brackets. It is a bracket connect, which is a structure of associated components shaping a solitary unit. The scaffold is above Monongahela River in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The two-range connect, 360 feet each, has an all-out length of 1,184 feet and a freedom underneath of 42.5 feet. It took just 2 years to fabricate this extension, i.e., from 1881 to 1883. Smithfield Street Bridge got opened on March 19, 1883. This is the second most seasoned steel connect in the United States. The originator of the scaffold is Gustav Lindenthal. It conveys 4 paths of roadways and 2 walkways. In 1889 and 1911, the extension was altered. In 1915, the cast steel reproductions were put rather than the iron entry. A redesign in 1933 supplanted the extension's steel floor with aluminum bars and decking. A subsequent redesign, in 1996, expanded as far as possible from 3 tons to 23 tons. In 1974, Smithfield Street Bridge got remembered for the National Register of Historic Places. The extension is a National Historic Landmark too. The Brooklyn Bridge was the world's first steel wire suspension connect. It is a half-breed link suspension connect in New York. Brooklyn Bridge joins Manhattan and Brooklyn over New York City's East Waterway. In 1869, the construction of the scaffold began. It took long 14 years. John Augustus Roebling is the planner of the Brooklyn Bridge. He was the pioneer in the structure of the steel suspension connect. Be that as it may, not long before development of the extension in 1869, he was lethally harmed while taking a compass perusing, and half a month later he kicked the bucket. The bridge opened on May 24, 1883. President Chester and Arthur introduced the scaffold. This scaffold has an absolute length of 5,989 feet and width of 85 feet. The extension has a lofty status as a National Historic Landmark in 1964. In May 2008, the 125th commemoration of the scaffold celebrated. In the good old days, the scaffold was utilized for horse-drawn vehicles and raised railroad lines. Presently it is open for vehicular, person on foot and bike traffic. The Brooklyn Bridge was the world's first steel wire suspension connect. It is a half-breed 7-mile bridge, is the most established scaffold in Florida of United States. The scaffold interfaces Knights Key to the Lower Keys area. This famous scaffold is one among the longest extension of America. The specific history interfaces 2 scaffolds here. The old scaffold begins with a railroad. The name was Florida East Coast Railway. The railroad starts to extend at that point. The basic stretch of the railroad is 7-mile bridge. The tropical storm made more harms the extension. The United States government purchased the scaffold and remade it. The extension holds space for passing boats and vehicle use. In view of the harm brought about by Hurricane Donna, the requirement for another scaffold came. The new 7-mile bridge is straightforward in design. This most seasoned structure has a support style. The steel braces bolster concrete. The weight is conveyed sufficiently along these lines. The extension has increased enough rise for the boats to go underneath. The wonderful extension has pulled in numerous movie producers too. A great occasion called the 7-Mile Connect Run is hung on the extension on Saturdays. Along these lines, the most seasoned extension includes some progressively fun. The street. The Francis Scott Key Bridge, frequently known as the Key Extension, is one among the most seasoned scaffold in America. This is a 6-path curve connect holding US Highway 29. In 1923, the extension was available to People, Indiana General. The extension supplanted the more established Aqueduct Bridge in the locale. The new extension got its name in 1916. It is the Army Corps of Architects who proposed the name to pay tribute to an essayist in the area. The south terminal of the scaffold is in Virginia State. The extension gets individuals from Rosslyn to Georgetown. The people on foot walkways are on either side of the scaffold. Accordingly, it gives security to people on foot. This American extension is a piece of Maryland Route 29. The style of the extension is a traditional restoration style. It was redesigned in the year 1955 and 1987. During the adjustments, some new changes notwithstanding, the extension is recorded in the National Historic Places in 1996. The originator of the scaffold was Nathan Wyeth. The C&O Canal is running underneath the Key Bridge in Washington. Representative Bridge is another part in the rundown of most established extensions in the USA. This suspension connect interfaces locales, for example, Detroit, United States, Michigan with Windsor, Ontario, and Canada. The stream ranges over the Detroit River. Joseph A. Bauer was the financier in New York, who made the task conceivable. The warmth-treated link wires were utilized in the development of the extension. This was another innovation of the time. For security, the links changed later. The all-out expense of development is $23.5 million. The scaffold work reached a conclusion on November 11, 1929. After 4 days it was available to the general population. The underlying name of the scaffold was the Detroit River Bridge. This antiquated scaffold is as yet mirroring the sound relations inside the United States of America and Canada. The scaffold was the longest suspension-style connect known to man around then. George Washington Connect in New York took the crown later. The extension turned into a well-known spot for weddings and different capacities. Some state the conjugal rapture won't be legitimate in the scaffold. Be that as it may, the territory was a military transportation route during World War II. The scaffold hence stays as the noticeable image of companionship between better places. Regal Gorge Bridge is one among the old extensions of the United States of America. This is a popular vacationer area in Colorado. The extension is at a superstature of 955 feet over the Arkansas River. It was the most elevated extension on the planet until 2001. It remains the most noteworthy scaffold in the U.S. The development of the extension costs $350,000. The fundamental point of the extension was to advance the travel industry, instead of transportation reason. So the scaffold go about as a whole carnival in the locale. More than 500,000 individuals visit the extension consistently. George E. Cole, an extension engineer, was the fundamental leader of the turn of events. The scaffold permits just constrained vehicles other than substantial trucks. The walkers are for the most part utilizing the extension. The whole history of the scaffold began when the central government gave the Royal George to the Cannon City. The task proposed was a city park in the region. At that point the requirement for an extension to cross two most elevated pinnacles came. The underlying piece of the arrangement was the development of columns. This goes about as a base for steel towers, which bolsters suspension links. It took 7 months for the consummation. The scaffold doesn't have a past filled with any lethal occurrences. Indeed, even today this vacationer place welcomes countless explorers to feel the genuine tallness of bliss. George Washington Bridge is a suspension connect over the Hudson River. It interfaces Washington Heights in New York City alongside District in New Jersey. This most established extension conveyed about 103 million vehicles consistently. Thus, it turned into the busiest engine vehicle extension of the world. The Port Authority of New York and New Jersey exclusively claims the extension. Different names of the extension incorporate GW, the GWN, Fort Lee Bridge and Hudson River Bridge. The designer of the scaffold was Othmar Amon. He utilized the plate supports and tough steel. The shrewd structure strategies gave a straightforward and vaporous look to this antiquated scaffold of USA. The suspension framework gives a sensitive appearance in steel. There are all-out 105,986 wires for the help of this American scaffold. The two suspension towers are a good ways off of 604 feet. From the outset, cement and rock were going to use for the towers. In any case, the specialists found the steel to give better help. Since 1948 there was a major free-flying banner of America in the scaffold. Another record of the extension is on the matter of suicide endeavors. 18 individuals bounced together from the scaffold in 2012. In any case, the old scaffold of America is enchanting and holds on to compose the rest of the adventure. The Bixby Creek Bridge is one among the old extensions in America. Because of its excellence and beauty, the scaffold is one of the most appropriate spots for photography. The Curve Connect is in the northern piece of Big Sur. This most established scaffold got its name from Charles Henry Bixby. He bought the land and gathered the wood. This fortified solid scaffold is one among the tallest solid extensions on the planet. The extension spending plan was $199,861. Different names of the extension incorporate Rainbow Bridge, Mill Creek Scaffold or Bixby's extension. The name Rainbow Connect came because of the nearness of Rainbow Lodge Resort close to the extension. This most seasoned scaffold is the main INSTAGRAM commendable goal for the 2019 voyages. The site TravelPulse.com gave this respect. The land in the north and south locale of the extension was private property till 1988 and 2001. Later nearby and government organizations gained the possession. The antiquated scaffold was renowned before the presentation of the online networking period. The scaffold is the fundamental goal during occasions. The main announced negative is the absence of civilities in the scaffold locale. Brilliant Door Connect is one among the most seasoned suspension connect in America. It interfaces the city of San Francisco to Marin Country. It conveys US Route 101 and California State Route over the stream. The Golden Entryway Connect is one among the miracles of the cutting-edge world. The draftsman of the scaffold configuration was Irving Monroe. In 1872 Charles Crocker made the primary proposition of the extension to Marin Country delegates. Be that as it may, the undertaking didn't pay attention to till 1919. The underlying plan of the scaffold was a lot of dubious, and after change, the War Office gave a brief license for development. The incomparable significance of the extension was for security. The specialists took measures to maintain a strategic distance from the danger of life during development. Yet at the same time, there were different mishaps. The shading at first proposed were carbon dark and naval force dark with yellow stripes. The draftsman chose the international orange shading for the scaffold. The red preliminary is the steel pillars. The hues were exceptionally specific and satisfying for the structure. The initial service of the extension went on for about 14 days. It began from May 27 to June 2 out of 1937. At first, the heaviness of the scaffold was 894,500 tons. Until 1964 the Golden Gate was the longest suspension connect on the planet. Thanks for watching and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.